We're ready.
We can honestly do it again because I'm so nervous.
What are you nervous about?
Just one more time.
Okay.
Okay, dear God, may this interview go amazing. And thank you so much for Brandon for doing this. In your precious name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Sobriety.
Thank you, Sobriety.
Okay. Hey guys, I have a very special guest that I want to introduce today. And he's a very rad guy that I met in the rooms. And I heard your story. And I just really appreciated your honesty. And yeah, I thought you had a great story. And I want to say thank you so much for being here and for coming and sharing it.
No problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I think you're a rad person too.
Thank
and
you.
I don't really know much about you, but this is about me, so I won't know anything about you after this. But I'm excited to say whatever I need to say.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I know I didn't even ask you how you wanted to do it. If you wanted to do like a certain amount of time or like...
I don't care. I mean, like, do you want me to just talk about my story? Okay, I'll give a rundown of my story. So I grew up.
What's your name? Who are you?
My name is Brandon, and I'm an alcoholic, and I have a little over 3 years of sobriety, and I've been in the room since 2008, so I've been around for a while, but I will get into that, I guess, with my story.
Awesome.
Okay, so shall we start from the beginning?
Yes, please
Okay.
do.
Well, is there fruit in here?
No, it's like a berry mix.
Mm.
It's just magnesium.
So there is fruit.
It's
Invisible fruit. So yeah, I grew up in Westlake Village, which is 45 minutes that way. Which way is north? So I grew up in a suburb, and I didn't like. I'm also adopted from Romania. I was adopted at 18 months old, and I was born with drugs and booze in me. Or, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I don't know if that has a play in my alcoholism. I don't really feed into it, but it's never really bothered me either that I'm adopted. I feel like I'm blessed because my parents are very, like, they were good parents in a sense. Like, I was in a broken home or in an orphanage and rescued in a sense.
Oh my God.
So, and this is Scout, everyone.
She's super cute.
Say hi, Scout. Hi. I know, she should have worn her jammies. I got her rubber ducky jammies.
Oh, so cute.
But those are for her bedtime. But yeah, so I grew up in Westlake Village, and basically what Westlake Village is it's just a suburb, and I never fit in.
Yeah, I know Westlake.
What?
I know Westlake. It's like
Okay.
very mellow.
Yeah,
like,
it's chill.
Super chill.
And so, yeah, that's like, I never fit in. I also was not a good student. I just wanted to be outside, playing in the dirt, and being weird. And that's like how I operate to this day still, is I just want to like be outside and be in the dirt. And so I never really fit in. I also wanted everybody to like me. So, kids like, made fun of me, and then I also wanted to protect people, and I have that nature in me. It's like, I just want to save everyone, and so like growing up, I didn't really fit in, and I also wasn't good at school. I was just like, my emotions were rampant, and so I got put on Ritalin very early as a kid, and I know that plays a huge role in my like trying to fit in kind of stage in life. And so At the time I didn't really understand it, but as I've like gotten older, I understood that like I didn't fit in, and so like, and my parents didn't know what to do with me, and so they sought out psychiatry and all that. And at the time, like, I I feel like in the '90s, doctors were just handing out scripts because they wanted to make money, and it wasn't necessarily like to help them. And even though like it was a drug that would make me focus, it never made me focus. And then I stopped taking it like for a very long time before my parents caught on, and so it never really worked. And I didn't like, I never abused it uh, in the early stages, but like that not fitting in like factor came into my life, and so once again I like did weird things to get people's attention. And then I don't think it was until like middle school is when I like started dabbling with drugs. And so I basically, I think I smoked weed as like, I mean, I was already doing pills, but I think I was smoking weed for the like for middle school. And then that progressed into like just like my middle school, I barely made it through. I was very aggressive as a middle schooler. I didn't fight people, but like I really wanted people's attention, and so stop it. You're not getting off of this leash. And so I would like interrupt the class. I would, throw books in the air and make a loud noise, and the teacher would be like, didn't know who it was. And yeah, like I just like never, I was never good at middle school. And so then high school rolled around, and I guess, high school, there's all the jocks, and then the goth kids, and then the nerds, and just like all these different groups. And I didn't know which one I fit in, so I tried to fit in all of them. And so I became a band geek. I played the
Fuck yeah.
saxophone.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, I started that in elementary, or not elementary, but I guess in that like pre middle school or whatever. And so like that was, my dad forced me to do it, made me practice. I was actually really good at it.
Dope.
And so that was like a group I fit in, and I was so embarrassed because like I had to bring my saxophone to school, and like none of the other kids were like, the cool kids weren't in band. So like, but then like in band there's the first chair, which is like the good chair. And so like I wanted to be, even though I hated it, I wanted to be the first chair, and I was for a while. And then I wasn't. And then so like there was this competing factor in that, even though I was trying to keep it hush hush. And so yeah, middle school I tried to play sports. I'm very athletic, but I think I got into pills. And so I started taking a lot of Xanax, and then I stopped forgetting. I started to forget like everything, and I was blacking out in class. And yeah, I was like really, I was barely passing like school. And so I think, and so also I was upgraded to Adderall at this point, and I knew people in my high school needed it, so I would fake take my Adderall, and I would like, over time I had like lots of pills, and so I would sell it to people. And so then people remembered me like, oh, Brandon's got Adderall, and like, cool. I would trade Adderall to the cigarette guy down the street. I would like trade my Adderall, and so like people started to like me and remember me, and it felt good. And like, and then basically what happened was, at home, like my parents didn't know what to do with me. I was still out of my mind. I was not passing school. I would stay up really late on my computer because I'm a nerd, and so I'd be in the AIM chat messenger group, AOL, just chatting to strangers or like people at school because we had AIM messenger, and like I was a zombie at school, and like I was sneaking out and like just doing all these crazy things, and then like I guess one day I had a bunch of Adderall on me and I was giving it away to people or selling it or whatever I was doing. And the drug dogs came and
Fuck.
yeah. And so they like caught a couple people and they immediately said my name. And I didn't know at the time like that they were coming, so I couldn't get rid of anything. And so I ended up getting arrested on campus, and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. I was like, yes, everybody's gonna see me. And the way Westlake, the way you enter the campus, there's a huge bridge. So everybody can see you coming on and off the campus. And so like everybody saw me get arrested and I got immediately expelled. And I was like, yes, this is so cool. I'm the coolest person ever. And so, I mean, my parents didn't think that was pretty cool, but yeah, I was just like, I was left to my own devices. And so I ended up going to like an adult school and finishing 11th and 12th grade in like 6 months. And like, it was
yeah.
awesome. And then, so both my parents work, they work at the same place. My dad's a dentist, my mom runs the business. And so I was left home alone all the time. And
Same.
all I would do was like smoke weed and just like steal the car and drive around and then get caught and lie about it. And they're like, Brandon, the car's not here and you're not here. Where are you? And I'm like, the car's there. And like, just like dumb shit. And so I was nearing my turning 18. Like I was working at, I think this restaurant called La Salsa, just some like, his like Mexican restaurant. And just wasn't taking life seriously. Like I thought life was like just get high, drink, because everybody else's parents around me didn't really give a shit. Like even though I grew up in like a rich neighborhood, there was the Thousand Oaks kids, which I related to more, or the Agora kids, the Oak Park kids, which is all still really nice, but it wasn't like Westlake kids, which I hated all of them, and they didn't like me either. I don't talk to anyone from high school or anyone I grew up with. There's this one guy, Mark, who's my best friend, who we're just in two totally different worlds, and he lives in Brentwood, and we're just not. I can't relate with him anymore. And he was like the only person I talked to for the longest time. It's sad because my middle name is Mark. Like we have a lot of history together, but he just drinks beers and like sits at home all day. I don't do that. I don't have anything to relate to him with. So
I feel like that is one of the beautiful things with sobriety, though, like being able to not like grow out of people, but just like to grow in general and like make new friends in life and like meet new people and not having to just surround yourself with like just the people you've known since you like been a child, you know?
Yeah, and it's funny. It's like I have Facebook. I see all the people I went to high school with, and like they're all still friends with each other, like the popular kids, and like they built their life, and like a lot of them are still in Westlake, which I don't know how they're fucking doing that.
Crazy.
It's like so boring out there. But yeah, like in sobriety, I've made so many friends, and like I've lived a lot of different lives. But yeah, so back to, where was I? I guess, so I got kicked out of school. Parents didn't know what to do with me. I was about to turn 18, and they like gave me an ultimatum, and they were like, look, you can either be homeless in Westlake Village where there's no homeless people.
None.
Or you can go to rehab. And I was like, okay, I'll just go to rehab. Like, but the thing is, I didn't understand what rehab was. I had no, I guess, like pre like other than maybe what I saw in the movies, but I don't even think I understood it. I had no idea what to expect. And so I didn't want to be homeless, obviously, because like I didn't know how to be homeless. So I went to this rehab, Beit Teshuva, in Culver City, and it's a Jewish rehab. I was raised Jewish, but I never really like followed the faith. I just kind of like did it just to do it. I'm like the worst Jew. You can, if you ask me like anything about a holiday, good luck and an answer. Yeah, I've also been to Israel like 3 or 4 times.
Oh,
It's a
so
beautiful
cool.
country.
Birthright?
I did birthright. I also,
So cool.
my sister had her bat mitzvah there, so I went young. And then I went again for my 26th birthday. I've been there. It's fun. It's a great country, other than like a lot of the weird shit the president's doing. But like, it's a really good, wholesome place. It's really beautiful. And so I went to this rehab and I didn't know what to expect. And it was kind of like, there was a lot of shit going on every day. And so like, I kind of like, I'm really good at being a chameleon. And so like, I did what I needed to do, but I also like didn't fit in because I felt like I didn't have a story like the stories that I was hearing of people. And so
In what way?
in like I'd never done heroin before.
okay.
I'd never used needles before. I'd never been I'd been arrested. I'd never been in a fight. I never, like, none of these crazy stories that I was hearing. So like I felt like kind of ashamed and embarrassed of my story because I was like, oh, I'm just like this rich kid that popped a bunch of pills and like his parents didn't know what to do with him. And so like I ended up making up my story and telling people that I was gang raped, like in the ass, like crazy shit that I would pick off from other people to make it like believable, to be like, oh damn, Brandon's a badass, and like all this crazy shit. And like little did I know, I was like, it's funny, minus the gang rape shit, but like those things that I never done before, I ended up doing. Like it was crazy.
Wow.
And like it was a foreshadowing. And so like eventually I was in that rehab. I wasn't taking anything seriously. I was sleeping with all the girls I could in there, and because it was a co-ed rehab. And the one thing I guess it did do was introduce AA, but yeah, I went to a lot of meetings, but I still didn't. I don't think I definitely wasn't like ready to like get sober. I was like, no, I'm gonna go back to my parents' house. I'm gonna like continue doing what I was doing, and eventually they just kicked me out for my behavior. I didn't get high in the rehab, and so I was like, oh shit. They're like, yeah, you're just like wasting your life in here. We're just not gonna support that. And so I didn't know what to do, and I called my parents, and I was 18 at the time. I like turned 18 and then went to rehab. And so I ended up like finding a sober living house down the street, and it was off La Cienega, and basically like convinced my parents like this is the best option for me. And I had no idea like what a sober living was, and this was like just literally people who were saying they were sober living in a house and paying this dude $1,000 to live there. And
Were they sober though?
no, there was some weird shit going on there.
Oh, no way. Oh my God.
Yeah, it was like I went and did a tour. It was a shithole house off La
In
Cienega.
Westlake?
No,
Oh, no,
no, La Cienega, like up the street from the rehab. And this guy, I think his name was Mike, and he came and gave a tour to my parents and was like, yeah, this is where we have group dinners, blah, blah, blah. And then like once he got that money, he was gone. And then like there was people doing drugs in the house. There's this dude in the back. His name was Aspa. He was from some other country. He didn't speak English. He spoke tongue. And it was crazy. And he lived in the trailer park in the back of the house. And so I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, I can get high. And so I eventually got high in the house just off weed. And then like, I don't know, even though like people were getting high, there was still, you had to drug test and shit. And so I guess they were getting like clean pee, and I didn't understand, I didn't know. And so I ended up like getting in trouble, like put on lockdown. And I was like, this doesn't make sense. Like, people are getting high, but I'm not gonna like rat on people. So I was just very confused of what was going on. And eventually, like, I ended up like, I think I was just bored of living there, and I wasn't really going anywhere. And so there was this dude, David, who I knew in the rehab that I was in. And I was like, yo, like, where are you living? And he's like, oh, I'm living in Venice at this sick house. And I was like, can I come live with you? And he's like, yeah, man. And so I ended up like taking my shit, telling my parents like, oh, I found a solid situation. They were like, whatever. They were like confused, and then they were like, whatever. And so basically what happened was this dude was living in this house with this gay dude who was on a bunch of meth. And we weren't allowed to like be in the windowsills during the day, so we had to crawl underneath the windowsills. It was crazy.
Stop. No way.
Yeah, but he didn't let us. We didn't have to pay rent. It was crazy, and so
That's a trip.
I ended up smoking crack with them because I was like, I've never done it, and it was the only drug that was being smoked there, or meth. Like, they were smoking meth and crack, and I was like, I'm not going to do meth, but I'll smoke crack. And so we ended up, what was happening was they were squatting in a house. And I guess squatters have rights. And so we were being incognito because they didn't want people coming to the house during the day. But at night, it was like free range to do whatever.
Wow.
And so me and this dude, David, and this gay dude were living in this house.
Wow.
Smoking crack, and I thought like I was living life. I thought it was like really killing it at this point. And then finally, so speaking of that friend Mark, at this time he was like still my really good friend, and he's like, can't wait to hang out with you again. And this was kind of a crazy day. I think this day it was Halloween, because I remember it. I think we were getting kicked out of the house and moved to the alleyway, and I was like, dude, I've never been homeless before. He's like, don't worry, I know how to do this. And I was like, okay. And I invited my friend Mark to come hang out. And so Mark drove from Westlake down, and he was like super stoked to hang out with me. And so he like came over, and then I was like, dude, I'll be right back. I just gotta go get something real quick. And I was like, I need to go get drugs. And so I ended up disappearing and ended up at this house party, and it was Halloween. And so he was like all dressed up. I had no costume. I think I wore like a white button down and drew a pot leaf on it and said I was some doctor. And I ended up like partying on the street at this party off Navy Street next to Davy Jones liquor store, and I ended up meeting this older woman, and I was 18, 19 at the time. She was 43, and we hit it off, and she invited me back to her place, which was right next door to the party, and my buddy David came with me. I don't know what happened to Mark. I never hit him up. I never told him. And until years later, I was like, I'm so sorry for that. But so she invited me over to his place, and she invited me over to her place, and she had like a plate full of cocaine. And I was like, hell yeah, but let's make crack with it. And so she was like, I've never smoked crack before. I was like, okay, well, let's fucking smoke crack. And so we made crack. And she was like super gung-ho about it. She let me and David move in
Wow.
that night.
No way.
And we were supposed to be homeless that night. And like, we ended up like basically moving in. I was sleeping with her. So I was in her bedroom and he lived on the couch. And for a couple months, all we did was smoke crack. She went to work. She was in the paralegal world. She went to work zonked out of her mind for months. And I would just smoke crack with David, invite really sketchy people over to her house, like drug dealers, strippers, and just like let them use the house to like bang in and like do weird shit. And then they would just peel us like big rocks and shit. And then she would come home and pay for more. And then we would go out on the town. I was 19. I didn't have an ID. And she just knew all the people in the bars on Main Street.
Yeah.
And they just let us in. And it was crazy.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't crazy. And then she was sick. She was over it. So she kicked us out. And well, what happened was she went away on a trip, and me and David, we just like partied our asses off. But I guess in a blackout, I cut my leg open really bad, and I smeared blood all over the walls. And then I fell asleep, and she came home to thinking that I killed someone.
Oh my God.
And I was like, I don't think I killed anyone, but I also don't know what happened. She's like, you gotta go. You and David gotta go. And so I was like, okay. And so we left, and it was like October time, or no, it was a few months after. So it was like probably January, February time, and basically it was super cold outside by the boardwalk. And so we were homeless, and he was like, don't worry, I know how to do this. I'm from New York, like I've done this before. He was a lot older than me. He was probably in his 30s. And so I just trusted him. I didn't have any other option. Like, I don't know how to be homeless. And so what ended up happening was like, she would let us in every once in a while, and she would not let us in. And then, we were on the streets. It was cold. We were breaking into people's garages because it was so cold outside. And then kind of what like the straw for what happened was we were at Costco, and those dust off cleaners,
Yeah.
where you can clean the air. We were huffing them to get high, and he'd done way too much, and he ended up like knocking himself out. And I didn't know what to do, so I just left him. And I was like, I can't get like caught. We weren't even. Oh, I guess we were stealing because we were using it and just putting it back. And so I was like, I don't know what to do. And so I left. And then I guess I had a moment of realization. I was like, this is where my life is going, and I don't know what to do. So what do? I call mom and dad. And I was like, hey, I'm alive. And like, meanwhile, my parents were looking for me up and down the boardwalk.
Oh my
like
God,
my
my
mom.
parents too.
Yeah. And so like, I didn't realize that like, I didn't care about their feelings. And then like, I did, like, I was like, okay, I'll do anything, like, please. And so I ended up going to this place called Liberty House in Century City. And so this place, it's no longer around because it was very illegal what they were doing there.
I think I've heard of this place.
Yeah, so there's a lot of sober houses based off of it, like, I don't remember
Awakening?
all this. But there's houses that are very strict. So this house was like a super strict place. Basically what it is they beat you down and then build you back up. So you're a piece of shit, you're worthless, you're nothing. You can't talk to anyone for 2 weeks. You don't know how to brush your teeth, like all this shit, which to a point is true. I was like really had no life skills. I barely showered anyways. I shower a little bit more today.
I feel you.
Yeah.
I get
I
it.
feel like the ocean is my, I'm in the ocean a lot, so I feel like that's my cleansing. But yeah, so I ended up in this really strict house, and, you know, it was expensive. I think it was like $5,000 a month, and like, in my mind, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. My parents are coughing up a lot of money. I really gotta take this shit seriously, and like, in my mind, I really like, I thought about like, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this for them, blah blah blah. And so like, I had a hard time. I have a hard time with authority telling me what to do, or with anybody really telling me what to do. And so like, I was pretty defiant, and I ended up like getting on a bunch of programs. Like I like had to stare at a wall for like hours at a time. And then I would have to write words, like 100,000s of words. And I ended up getting put on a program called the Pinocchio program, because I lied about it. Everything that came out of my mouth was a lie. And so they legitimately bought me a rubber nose,
Shut up.
white gloves, a bow tie, red suspenders, red shorts, and a hat. And I had to walk around the house in a Pinocchio outfit. And
Just around the house.
yeah, no,
Okay.
oh, and then I eventually had to go to meetings like that.
Oh my God.
And so I finally like got off that program. I was working my way up to be a senior, which is like a high rank in the house. And I don't know what happened. I just like ended up saying fuck it, and I left.
After
And
how many months?
I think it was like 10 months.
Wow.
I think, yeah, I left, and I was communicating with the lady, Karen is her name. And I was so crazy. Like, I still have the big book that I had. Yeah, they took everything from you. And like, I had some shitty phone. And so I wrote down her phone number in my big book, but in like code. And so I used the page numbers of the big book to remember her phone number. And so I would call her like every couple months and be like, check in with her. And I guess this was like my reservation that I had. Even though I was like ranking myself up, there was like something that happened that would like ultimately be like, okay, I have somewhere else I can go.
Right.
And whether it was like me thinking about wanting to get high or loaded again, I just knew I had I had a way out. And so I ended up leaving for like a few days. Ended up getting super high with this chick, and then like the guilt and shame of like my family settled in. And so I eventually went back, and this house has, so I came back. They put me, I had a bunch of words I had to write. They there's this thing called like a shutdown, so nobody can leave the
yeah.
house. You have to scrub toilets with toothbrushes, blah blah blah. And so like, I ended up I got the house shut down because I spilled a grease bucket, because there's a chore where you have to cook and you pour the grease in a grease bucket, and over time, like a huge bucket, paint bucket full of grease, I accidentally spilt it, and it got everywhere, and I didn't cop to it. And so since nobody was telling who did it, everybody got in trouble. And like, I was just too shameful. Like, there's no way I could tell the truth. And like, I was like, so, even though I'd done like the 11 months, like, I was like, fuck, everybody's gonna have to go down too. Like, cause I don't care about anyone else at this point. Like, if they suffer, I suffer. And so this house also has a house called the Kentucky House, which is in Kentucky. And so I eventually ended up like, that house is more intense than this
The
house.
Kentucky one is
Yeah.
more intense, huh?
And so they ended up shipping me out there.
Wow.
And so, and it was during the dead of winter at this point. And so it's cold, and it's in the middle of nowhere in Kentucky, like literally on a ranch. And so I went to this house. I was like, in my mind, I think I was like, okay, I can start fresh. But then I'm like, fuck, I have to write all these fucking words. And like, I just felt like at the bottom of the barrel again, which I was, I was like a newcomer, nobody. And so, but what I ended up doing was I was able to talk to my mom, and I'm a mama's boy at heart. And so I was able to convince my mom that, are you okay? Are we doing it?
Yes.
Is this okay?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Okay.
Great.
All right.
So you're able to convince your mom.
I was able to convince my mom that this place was like a horrible place. And she had been to like, they do groups on every Saturday night where all the family comes in, and like it's basically like kiss ass to the parents that their money's being well spent, and that their kid is progressing and blah blah blah. And so I ended up convincing my mom that like, I don't need this place. I need a less structured place, and it will do me better. And so she was like all for it. And like, the thing is like, we had to keep it hush hush, me and my mom, because they are so good at manipulating parents that like, if they found out,
Right. They would.
I would like be trapped.
Right.
Like I would. So what ended up happening was, my mom flew out, took a taxi to the house, and when I saw the taxi, because you could see like from it was big windows, beautiful house, big windows, a huge long driveway. And then once I saw that taxi, I knew it was my mom. And my mom's kind of scary. Like, you don't want to mess with her. And at that point, I was like, I can leave, because like, there's no way I could have left on my own. I was in the middle of nowhere in Kentucky, and I had no money. They wouldn't give me any money on the books. And so my mom ended up rescuing me from this house, and I'd convinced her to let me go to this house in Hermosa Beach back in LA. And I was like, fuck yeah. And so it was a huge fuck you to them. And they were like, I can't believe you do this. I'm like, well, it is what it is. And so I ended up going to this house in Hermosa Beach called Bodhi Casa. And I don't think I really had much time, maybe like 30 days or 60 days at the time. And this guy Stefan owns it, and he is super into like martial arts and surfing. And the house was like a couple blocks from the Hermosa Beach. I don't know if you've ever been down there.
Yeah.
It's pretty
I
cool.
went to high school over there.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, this is the life. Like, this is gonna be dope.
Good vibe.
He had like, his house was kind of structured. You do chores, you go to meetings if you don't have a job, and you're inside by like 11. And
Chill.
and so I was like, dude, this is a breeze compared to everything. And so I ended up staying there for like, I think 14 months. And then I ended up like, so this is like really where I guess I really took AA seriously and my recovery seriously. And so like, I was going to the morning meeting at the Alano Club, good looking people, made friends, a huge community over there, made friends with people. And I was like, oh, I can do this. And so I ended up getting my driver's license at 21. I did a lot of things. I went to SMC for college to figure out what I'm going to do. And so, yeah, like after 14 months, I want to say, I ended up like sleeping on the couch up there to like make room for a new person to come in. And like, and he's super into jujitsu, and I got into that. And then that's where I learned like my love for surfing. Is I was like very stubborn and wanted to learn how to surf, and nobody really knew how to surf there. So I took a shortboard that he had and ended up like teaching myself how to surf. And
So cool.
And so, yeah, like and then I got the trust of my family back, and I ended up like moving out with like this cool action plan of like what I'm gonna do. and I ended up going to like a trade school called Westwood College in Koreatown. And so I was living in this like really shitty apartment in Culver City, and that my parents were paying for. I'm trying to remember what job I had. It was probably some shitty job. Yeah, like during like the next couple years, I just was like working shit jobs. But I went to this school for 3 years, 4 years, and I got a bachelor's degree in system administration and computer science because I'm a nerd at heart. And so like this school was super sketchy. It was very sketchy where it was in Koreatown. But I ended up, getting this degree, and then I ended up like not wanting to do it at all. I was like, fuck this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to sit in a server room all day. Like, fuck this. And so what ended up happening, I guess like I was working like shit jobs for a while, but I ended up like picking up a camera and learning photography. And then I've always been good at Photoshop and graphic design, and I've always been artistic. And so like I ended up like learning all that stuff, and I was super involved in the AA for a long time. So like I think this was like year 5, year 6, I was sober. I kind of like, so at this point I'd worked the steps once, and that was when I was at Liberty House because they forced you to do it in order to like level up. And so after all that happened, I never took, I took everything else seriously other than the step work. So I would show up to meetings. I would help anyone who needed help. I'd be of service at meetings. I had commitments. I did all the other things, but worked the steps. And so probably like year 5, year 6, I really stopped going to meetings. And basically I was just working whatever jobs. I worked at this place called Fix Vapor on Main Street. My friend Deb, she worked in nightlife, and she had a bunch of time sober. And I was like, is there any way like your job is hiring for social media marketing? Because I was like learning Instagram algorithm and like learning how to like get a lot of followers. And so I'm really good at like bullshitting my way and making up that I'm really good at these things. And so basically Deb got me an interview with this nightlife group called Tao Group, which they own like 99% of the nightclubs in the world.
Wow.
And they're just a really big hospitality group. And so I ended up getting this job with Tao Group, and they were opening up 5 venues in LA. And so I had no idea, like I was sober for majority of my 20s, and so I never really been to bars. Like I didn't know what the nightlife scene was like. Like I'd been to like shows and stuff, but never like the high scale luxury nightlife life. And so I ended up working for like the biggest nightclub industry in the world. And
This is how many years sober?
this is at year 7.
Okay.
Like, yeah, my about 7.5. So I got the job around year 7, and then within 6 months, I ended up relapsing. And I had convinced myself that I was this shitty drug addict, and, like drugs were my problem, and that if I think I can just drink. And so since I was around it, and like what ended up happening was like I was introduced to this life of like, Brandon, I need you here, I need this, hot girls, the fast-paced lifestyle, rappers, like big artists, Cascade, like all these like crazy people in these clubs. And I was the social media marketer, so I had to take photos. I was taking Polaroids, and booze was just around me so much. And so I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna just start doing this too. And I think if they can do it, and they're doing it every day, I can do it. And like, so I ended up relapsing with one of my good friends, Sam, and we ended up smoking weed. And he was not sober, like he was sober-ish, but like I was sober. And so like I ended up smoking weed with him, and we went into a dispensary and we bought a joint, and I got so fucking high, like I was like, dude, I never want to do this again. And I was like, I'm just gonna drink. Like, I'm not gonna smoke weed. Like, fuck that. I went off into another planet, and so like for the first couple years, and this is I relapsed in 2017. So for the first couple years, like, dude, I was like at every single club and bar in Hollywood. Like, people knew me by my name. I was like, girls were coming up to me. I thought I was like the coolest person in the world. I was at first going out like Monday, Wednesday, and then Friday and Saturday for work. Then it eventually like, okay, there's Tuesday night, industry night, like Thursday night. That's when all the like I ended up, I was going out like 7 days a week, but I would still show up to work every day. And I would go to all the different bars all over Hollywood. I was driving drunk as fuck everywhere.
Lame.
I had no time to sleep, so I did a shit ton of cocaine. I had a good job, so I was able to afford it. And once again, my parents had bought a condo in the valley, and so I was just living rent-free in this 2-story, 2-bedroom condo with roommates. Some worked out, some didn't, but that was like because my alcoholism took a way far fucking nosedive, and they were like, dude, I cannot live with you, there's no way. And so what ended up happening, basically, to kind of full circle this, is like I was like so far gone, like by like I ended up only lasting at that job for like 3.5 years. Yeah, I was there for like 3.5 years.
Good.
Yeah, and then I got let go, not fired. So I was able to collect like unemployment. So I was able to like milk it for a while, and then I ended up getting a job at Creation, you know, that like health food place.
Yeah.
And so I was working as like the smoothie man, making all the teas, and like little did I know that the cook was this crazy alcoholic, and I was showing up to work like from the after party, because I did the late shift, like the 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. shift, and so I was like either coming from a party or I'd been up for a couple days, and then I ended up learning that the cook in the back, he was a major alcoholic, and he had 12 packs in the back. And so like I ended up just like bringing booze to work and just like being completely obliterated at work. And then the pandemic hit, and so then it was wild.
It was the time.
It was. Where were you in the pandemic?
I was in Santa Barbara / Venice, though.
Isla Vista.
No, I was
no Freebirds?
I was in my own little world.
But you were by the beach.
Yeah, it was nice. I did half and half Santa Barbara, half chill, getting fucked up alone, and then half Venice.
Okay. So yeah, the pandemic hit. I ended up not having to work. Everybody got like the money, you know. I don't know if you did or not.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
That was nice.
You did?
I had so much fun with that.
Oh yeah. And so like you would think like, okay, everything's shut down. Nothing else is, other than the liquor stores, which I was super grateful for, that was open. And like, yeah, that was like the only thing that was open. But I had made all these connections in the like nightlife scene. Like there was this underground music scene that I was also a part of. And so I ended up like partying my ass off during the pandemic, going to after hours every single day, and just raging. And like at this point, like I couldn't stop. There was like, my hangovers were so bad. I was like, dude, I can't sleep. There's no way. I have to stay up and I have to keep drinking and I have to keep doing blow. And so I ended up meeting this chick in the midst of this all in the middle of the desert. I drove to the desert and because there's these underground moon tribe parties and which are still really fun. I've been to a few sober.
Oh, cool.
And I ended up like meeting this chick and I like couldn't feed myself an apple because I was so fucked up.
Oh my God.
And she took care of me and like I was like, oh my God, you're the one.
Angel.
And so we ended up like, she was blonde, had big boobs, and that's like my weakness. And so we ended up like dating, and she knew some of the same people that I knew, and she was like this chef, but it was a very toxic relationship. She was a huge K-head, and at this point, like, we were so not good for each other, but like we couldn't separate each other. My parents hated her, so like I lied about being with her. She lived in a couple places because we were together for a while. She lived in San Diego for a while, so I would drive down there fucked up all the time. And then she would come stay with me, and then her mom lived not too far from me in the valley. So like I was seeing, like, under my parents' nose, I was seeing this chick. They hated her. But then, like, I was verbally abusing this chick. I was not like physically abusing her, but I got to a point where I was shoving her and like shaking her and like getting in her face.
Yeah, I know.
And like very aggressive. And like my parents were catching on to like, there's something wrong with you. And they thought I was sober this whole entire time. They had no idea. And so this was like 4 years into this relapse.
Wow.
And so everything was kind of falling apart. I was hiding bottles everywhere around my house. And my parents wanted to sell the condo because it's theirs. And I was like, fuck, what am I going to do? And so they wanted to buy something in Ventura County. Meanwhile, my alcoholism is so bad. They're finding out. They're coming over to like paint the place. I'm blacked out drunk, like trying to hide the smell, like all this shit. And like basically what happened was like Shanti was like, her drug dealer lived at the end of my street. She hated the fact that my parents hated her. So she would taunt my family and be like, I'm gonna just show up to your fucking house. And I was like, no, please don't. And like just all this crazy shit. And so I guess I don't really know what happened, but I ended up getting arrested at like 7:00 in the morning in my house, in my apartment. And Shanti was there, that's her name. And they ended up separating us. I don't even know what happened. I still to this day don't know what really happened. But I guess and my neighbors hated me, so I guess I was probably screaming, yelling, arguing, no idea. So I ended up getting arrested for something, don't really know. And at this point, I was like, for like the past year prior, I was like, I need to get sober. So I would go to meetings in the valley, I would leave and go get drunk. Like nothing really stuck. Even though I really wanted, like, I was like, dude, I really need to get sober. I know what it's like to be sober. And so I ended up getting arrested, and in my mind, like prior to that, like I told myself, I was like, the only way I'm gonna get sober is if I either die or I go to jail. And so when I went to jail, I took that as like the call from God, and I was like, okay. And so I had a cat at this time. I adopted a cat when I was really drunk, and I'm surprised the vet clinic let me, but I was so wasted. And I had this cat named Tangy. And so like the first call I made to my parents was like, hey, I'm in jail, but Tangi, because they love animals. And they were like, don't worry, we know. I was like, how the fuck do you guys already know? She's like, Shanti called us. I was like, oh, that bitch. And so, so what ended up happening was I was in jail for like 5 days. My name never got called in court. So I got a DA reject. I still to this day don't know what happened. And in the time when I was in jail, I set up to go to detox in the valley somewhere. And after I got out of jail, I ended up partying for 2 more days. But I was saying my goodbye to drugs and alcohol, and I showed up. I called my parents to like I didn't let them know when I got out, and I called them. I was like, "Hey, I'm ready. Like I'm ready to go." And so I was so fun. I was like on mushrooms, tripping in the back of my parents' car. I lost my phone, lost my wallet in the mountains somewhere, fell down a hill. I was fucking scratched up, and I was like, I'm ready. Like this is it. And so I show up to detox, like
Wow.
tripping on mushrooms, and they couldn't take my intake because I was so high. And so I like had to sit
Wow.
there for hours just talking to them. And then finally I like drew a sober breath, and I was like, all right, I'm ready. Let's do this. And so, yeah, my parents came to my rescue once again.
They're amazing.
And but like I told them, I was like, this is it. I'm ready. Like I'm 32 at this point, and I was like, I'm done. Like please help. And they did. They ended up like paying for my health insurance, which ended up paying for the treatment, and it wasn't coming out of their pocket like the tens of thousands of dollars treatment is. And so at this point I was like so grateful and like so ready to just do whatever it took. And at this point, it's like treatment is a lot different from when I first got introduced to it. And so I went to a detox, which was a really nice house in Tarzana. I forgot the name of the place I went to, but it was a very nice 30-day program. I took it seriously. I like made friends with everyone. And you know, my parents were willing to like help me, and they wanted me to stay in the valley, but I knew I needed, like in my gut instinct, I knew I needed to get back to the west side for the recovery, because I made so many connections out here. And I was like, please, just like if there's anything you listen to me, just please let me go back to the west side. And so they found this house called Living Now. Oh no, I ended up going to like a IOP like place, and so I stayed there for a minute, and that was actually right here in Playa del Rey. And then I was doing really good there for like I was there for like 2 months,
Nice.
doing IOP. And, I mean, a bunch of it was just bullshit and repetitive, but like I I had nowhere else to go. I had nothing else to like argue about. And then I eventually my like insurance ran out. Then they I had to go to a sober living, and I guess I found this one called Living Now that this guy Taylor owns in Venice. And I was so stoked. It was a shit house. It was during summer. It was so fucking hot. The bunk beds, like everything about the house was shit, other than that there was a roof over my house, over my head, and that there were sober dudes in the house. And so I was like, once again, I'm gonna like just be grateful. You know, you have somewhere. This is your path. And you know, at this point, I like had a really big open mind, and like in acceptance of like whatever happens kind of thing. And so I ended up going to the yard a lot. And I've known Jules for a very long time.
She's rad.
Yeah, she's cool. She has her moments, but she's cool overall. And so I showed up to that house every morning. I like slowly, like a lot of shit changed from the West Side recovery that I knew then. It's not as more poppin' as it used to be. And like maybe it is, and I just haven't found the group of people yet. But like there's Friday night meetings where it's called the Dog and Pony Show. Like everybody dresses up. Like I've heard Anthony Hopkins speak before. Like it was a celebrity fucking thing, but like it was cool. Like it felt like you were going out in a sense. And so like I was like, damn, this shit kind of sucks over here. But I was like, no, this is exactly what I need, you know. However, I ended up finding the beach meeting on Sunday mornings. Getting connected in over there. And then with like, this was around 6 months of my sobriety, my dad actually found me a job through one of his patients. And I was like kind of looking for a job. I was like, I want to milk this as long as I can. I really don't want to go to work. And my dad had this patient who was his spin instructor. And I guess he asked him what he did, like where do you work? And Dan, he's actually a really talented designer, and he worked for this company called V2, and they got me an interview, and I got a job with it like within 6 months of my sobriety. And then once I saw the salary, I was like, damn, like, okay, I can move out of sober living. I can do a lot of cool things now. So that, like, from wanting to just sit in sober living all day and eat shit food, now that my
Gave
life,
you momentum.
yeah, I was like, damn, my life can get good. Like, I can get a car, like, or I had a car, but like I can get a better car. I can go snowboarding. I can go traveling. Cause like in my relapse, I ended up like dating a girl from Germany and flying out there, traveling to Thailand and getting stuck out there for a while. And like, I did a lot of crazy shit, but like, and I love to do that stuff. And so this job was going to enable me to do that. And so I ended up getting this job and moving out with someone in the house, who I actually ran into like last week. He was my first roommate, like living out of the sober living. And we had a falling out after we lived with each other. And then I ran into him in the water, and it's funny, we both said, hey, let's forget about the past and let's just say what up. And we both live at the same complex that I live at now. It's crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
So cool.
And so I ended up moving out with this dude. He's a really nice dude, but he just like is kind of shady, and he was doing shady shit. And, but yeah, so my life, my life was coming together. And so finally 32, 33 years later, I'm paying for everything that is in my possession, to a sense. I'm not going to say everything. I did have some help with the car that I have, but like, the rent, everything, all my bills, everything, it's all finally my responsibility. And like, that is a huge part of me staying sober, in a sense. Like, there's no enabling going on with my family, and it's all on me, you know. And
I can relate to that
a
lot.
And so so that's kind of my story.
Amazing.
I just kind of rambled.
No. Oh my God. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. And honestly, I related to like so much that you said about just your upbringing, attention, like your middle school and your high school really brought me back to my middle school and my high school, and like how you partied. It just reminds me of how I partied.
Yeah.
And I had fun. I'm not saying, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
But I don't know. Just thank you so much you have a crazy story, crazy good story, very entertaining.
Yeah.
And
that's wild.
Yeah. Just really grateful that you are so open to share, and for your honesty and your vulnerability. And I'm excited for people to see it and to show people that they can get sober, and that there's a whole other world to live, you know, that's very different. And I don't know. For some reason, like hearing you share, like it was reminding me of like taking contrary action and like being sober when I didn't want to be sober, when it didn't feel like that's who I am. Mm-hmm. And it's like this repetitive, like reframing, like who I think I am as a person. And now like it's like I've lived a different life now, like as if I've died and had a rebirth, because I'm so different than how I was when I was drinking and using that like you can't even compare the two people.
Yeah.
And it's just come from like taking that repetitive action of not drinking, using. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like on TikTok, I despised the app for the longest time, and now I post like sober motivation.
Do you
quotes.
really?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay.
And it's like I wouldn't say I'm viral, but like a bunch of posts have gone to like hundreds of thousands of views, and I only have 1,000 followers. But like, the reason why I do it is because I like to take really pretty videos of the sunset or of the ocean, and then also like try and motivate whoever might see it. And I've impacted like 2 or 3 people just randomly on TikTok, like I'm starting today, like kind of shit. And like, dude, the old me, like there's none of that shit. Even though I was very creative, and like I do miss that creative side of me, that I had a lot more spark, but I'm not saying I can ever get back to that sober. But like the old me was always just like, what am I gonna get out of this? How am I gonna get it? Mm-hmm. And how can I like fuck you over, but also be completely fake to you and just lie there's so much parallel differences of like who I am today.
100%.
And it's like, yeah, I did some shitty shit in the past, but like that's not who I was.
And we're all human, and it does not define us at all. Mm-mm. And now we just get to live a beautiful, authentic life, and I don't know, just connect with people with our stories.
Yeah.
There's nothing to be ashamed of at all.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. You were rad. Can I give you a hug?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Good job, Scout. Way to